Hey, welcome to Shaun Spins. I'm your host, Shaun, and this is episode 12. I hope everyone is safe and well, and the fake producer is talking to me. What's that? More ideas to help out with subscriptions. Please don't tell me you're going to put all that social media stuff back on. You put it back on the screen. Can you take that off? Thank you. All right, 2 ideas. What do we got? We're going to do greetings. Paid greetings? Why? What? Okay, let's check it out. Hey, Bobby, happy birthday. It's me, Shaun, from Shaun Spins. You know, your family sent me a note and a truck full of money and asked me to say happy birthday. I hear it's the big 30. Happy 30th, Bobby. Happy birthday. Woo! Yeah, I don't want to do that. How much? $29. No, we're not doing that. Okay, what's the last idea? Commercial! You got a commercial? We're doing a commercial for a restaurant. Really? You have an example for me to follow for the restaurant? Yeah, let's check it out. You do know that place closed down. I think there's still a version of that name out in the West, but not here. And I do actually own a Cinderella tape. I think it's like a requirement of living out in this area. And recently they lost a few members, which was sad to read about. And, you know, God bless. You want me to do the commercial? The place isn't opened. Just read the script? Sing it! Pat Stone! The place is always open! 2 locations, we got what you need! I don't even eat hot dogs! Come on, just start the show. Well, what are we reviewing today? Punk rock. Good. The first punk rock band. And you made a title. Start the title. You know that person in the graphic is actually starting to look like me. What do we got today? First punk rock band. Looks like a CD here. It is. This is not the first punk rock band. This is the Sex Pistols. Not the first punk rock band. No. Neither is the Clash. I often wonder in history, in 40, 50 years, if people might think that Green Day is one of the first punk rock bands or the first one. No. What's that noise? Oh, that is the first punk rock band.
And you're a lad now, baby. You better shut it
up. And that's what we're doing this week. So this is the Ramones, It's Alive, and this is the 40th Anniversary Deluxe box set. This band, the Ramones, I feel, is the first punk rock band. However, just like in heavy metal, you get early stages such as Jimi Hendrix, Black Sabbath, and Deep Purple. I also feel that punk rock gets its start mostly in Michigan with bands like Alice Cooper, using the Edit It cover, going into the MC5, and then into the Stooges. Just those 3 chords alone. Oh, yeah. Interesting thing about a lot of these bands, including the Ramones, is the relation to Danny Fields. So it's pretty interesting, Danny Fields working with these bands. Now, also, Ramones were also into the New York Dolls. And I also feel some early punk rock is Suzi Quatro. And the Runaways. I'll tell you, that Suzi Quatro, that's a great album too. All great bands. Let's get a little bit into the history of the Ramones. You know, a band named after a name that part of the Beatles would use checking into a hotel, and they each gave themselves that same last name. Let's get into some of the history before we break down the album. Here is a photo of the original Ramones lineup. Now, for anyone that might have a Ramones t-shirt and that classic Arturo design with their names in a circle and you might not know who's who, well, here we go. On the far left is Dee Dee Ramone, plays bass. Next is Tommy Ramone on drums. Down below is Joey Ramone, vocals. And last but not least, on the far right is Johnny Ramone on guitar. When the band first started, they actually switched instruments and who was singing also. The band started in Queens, New York. They loved the Stooges music and also the New York Dolls. Now, an interesting thing about the Ramones, they kind of remind me of early Beatles because they were also learning how to play their instruments. Imagine being on the train with the four Ramones. That would be interesting. Another aspect of the Ramones from this photo is the look of the Ramones. The blue jeans, the jacket, the white shoes, which are probably Keds, had a specific look. I've heard a story before when they went to England. I believe they said some people thought they were like a gang. Another interesting aspect of the band early on is Johnny Ramone was carrying his guitar in a grocery bag. And I like sharing that story when I meet people trying to get expensive equipment for playing guitar, and I always think of Johnny Ramone carrying that Maserati guitar in a grocery bag. Now, Johnny Ramone, when he played guitar, not only do you have the stance he stood in, and I feel as though Joe Strummer had a specific stance, and so did Kurt Cobain, but Johnny Ramone does this constant downstroke that goes with the drums, which is pretty interesting, to say the least. Now, for me in my life, I did have a friend growing up that would do those constant downstrokes with a guitar pick. And we used to watch and listen to him. We would all be in a room playing guitar and go, that's kind of strange. Like, we would try to, I think even teach him, it's up, down, up, down. And I often wonder if Johnny Ramone's very similar. No one ever showed him, and maybe it's because he didn't know how to play guitar. That's where that constant downstroke comes. But it's very interesting. And for me, it's that start of punk rock because, not only is it speeding up the music and you got the power chords, you also have no guitar solo, but that instead of dun dun dun, it's dun 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 dun, and it goes with the drum dun, 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 dun. Really fascinating. Now, growing up, I wasn't really into the Ramones. One reason I didn't know a lot of people into them, and the second reason, they were kind of just odd to me. It's something like John Frusciante said, they kind of reminded him of cartoon characters or a comic book, and they were like that to me. It was kind of like Kiss, yet instead of makeup and costumes, it was pants, jacket, and the shoes. So they kind of were like costume characters to me. I didn't treat them seriously until my late teens. I had a friend named Jackie that used to sing a Ramone song all the time, Jackie's a Punk. And listening to them in my late teens, I was amazed. And right into college, pretty much one of the only bands I listened to all the time. I prefer live albums from the Ramones. You have this, it's just this constant, like Joe Strummer says, it's just constant when you're watching and listening to them live. There is no breaks. The only time you pretty much get a break in Ramones is, taking off a jacket before I Want to Be Your Boyfriend. Is constant. There is no real banter with the audience. How's everyone doing out there? It's great weather out there. No. You might get Dee Dee yelling out. Song lasts maybe a minute or two, then you get maybe another. Here comes another song, and you might get no calling out, or you might get another. Here comes another song. And it's quick, and it's intense. Now, I prefer Tommy and the band playing drums. When Tommy leaves, Marky takes over on drums. And Marky's probably the better drummer. One of my favorite drummers really is Richie later in the band's career. Dee Dee also leaves, and C.J. Ramone plays bass. And even a member of Blondie was in the Ramones for a bit. So my original copy of It's Alive is right here. This is recorded in 1977, New Year's Eve at the Rainbow in England. It's an amazing album. One of the interesting things about this album, and we talked about it, earlier, a lot of the bands that became punk rock in England were in the audience at this show, listening and watching the Ramones. It must have been pretty intense. I also have it on CD. The CD, this is probably the original issue of the CD. It sounds horrible. It's like listening to the Ramones through a paper towel dispenser on a little tiny speaker. This sounds awful. I got it though because I did not want to wear out the record, because the record is incredibly hard to find because it's not from here. It wasn't sold in the United States. You might be saying, well, Shaun, how'd you get the record? Well, when Tower Records was closing, like upper management or somebody got rid of a collection and they ended up at a friend of mine's shop, and I got it there for maybe $6 or $8 about 20 years ago, and it's an amazing record. I have some other live stuff from the Ramones. I actually liked it a couple years ago when Rhino reissued the first albums. I mean, they did most of them, I'll say, and they came with like a cardboard sleeve, but they came with bonus tracks. Now, the second album, which still has Tommy on drums, Tommy's there till after the third album, and then he helps produce. This one has a live concert from '76. This sounds awesome, the live concert. I also have Greatest Hits live. It's okay. CJ's in the band. This is much later. This goes quick, too. It's got a couple of like random studio bonus tracks at the end. And this is local live. Also okay. If anything, CD-wise, other than It's Alive, I would go with the second album's bonus tracks on that one. I have another record from a live concert, also from '77, like It's Alive. This came from a record store day a couple years ago. Interesting thing about this one, it's only 3 sides. The one side has Arturo's artwork on it, like engraved into it. Now, It's Alive is my favorite. So when they announced the 40th Anniversary Deluxe, I definitely wanted to get it. One complaint is, I mean, all these track listings for the additional CDs and stuff, I mean, they should have just made this like a piece of paper you could take off and then have the picture nice and big of the band and Joey holding Gabba Gabba Hey. Here are the CDs. Now, the original It's Alive is the first CD. And then you have other shows from that time. Very interesting. This opens up. That is heavy. Has a book inside. Book is alright. I'll pull out a record first. Record's pretty heavy. I will say the original record's nice and heavy too, though. But the 40th, a lot heavier. That's a heavy record. You know, similar to that my Blind Melon record, it's almost like a 78. Recently, I heard someone complaining about a Ramones, something that they issued, that it wasn't like on color vinyl. I am so used to Sire Records being just black vinyl, yellow insert circle, and a little blue design, so it doesn't bother me. I mean, when I see that yellow, like if I'm going through records and they don't have sleeves, if I see that, I get excited thinking it might be the Ramones or another band on Sire. So it also comes with a book, which the original did not. Now, I will share with you one thing that makes this book totally worthwhile. Right here, something Steve Albini said. This album was a godsend. Yep, that about narrows it down right there. It is. It's an amazing, amazing, intense album. Now, you might be saying, well, which one sounds the best? Well, I already said, like, the old original CD sounds awful. I prefer the original record. You know, however, I'm terrified that I'm going to wear it out and can't find another one because they didn't sell them here. The deluxe edition vinyl sounds pretty good. However, I think the CD for the Rainbow in the deluxe sounds really, really good. My only problem with the CD is the packaging. It's incredibly hard to get the CDs out. The CD on the new one has a little bit more bass, and it sounds really good. Now, I like this time period in the Ramones. Like I said, Tommy's still in the band, and it's good stuff. I also prefer later stuff that Joey writes. Some people might not like Pleasant Dreams. I don't think Johnny Ramone liked that album, but, you know, She's a Sensation is a beautiful song from Joey. I relate a lot to Joey. You know, Joey has a love for bands like the Ronettes, and I can relate to that a lot. And I think the rest of the band, Wasn't too happy when Joey wanted to do more pop-based songs, but they're beautiful. Now Dee Dee writes a lot of this music. Even when Dee Dee left the band, he was still writing music for the band. And Dee Dee, he lived a pretty hard life, and a lot of it shows up in his music. Either growing up in Germany, or maybe some of it. I know Today Your Love, Tomorrow the World came from them watching a movie, like a war movie. Dee Dee talks about his experience with drugs, which is really sad, and he eventually passed from that. One thing about Dee Dee that disturbs me is he uses a derogatory slang for a homosexual in the song Warthog, and that disturbs me. And part of me wonders if he used it just to try to act a certain way, like, I don't know. I do feel, though, that if I met Dee Dee in person, he'd probably be the one person I'd punch in the face. Johnny Ramone, I think I'd get along with. I heard he was very militant with the band, that was all about practice and like very. He reminds me almost like of the straight edge member of the Ramones. And Joey, I'd probably get along with great. And I do relate to Joey's struggles with the obsessive compulsive disorder. And Tommy seemed pretty interested and quiet too. But the original four have passed. But from their music, you get all these bands from England, and all these bands start coming up. Even I would say the hardcore bands in America owe a gratitude to the Ramones. The Bad Brains got their names from a lyric in a Ramones song, Bad Brains. And then even the Bad Brains, the Beastie Boys, that's where they got their name. They copied that B.B. So you get this event going from the Ramones. Now, one of the sad things with the Ramones for me is they never got as popular in the United States. And, they would talk about it. They would play overseas to these giant crowds and come back to America and play in just a little tiny venue, maybe for 100 or 200 people. And that's sad. And I think they thought they were going to catch on when grunge and stuff was catching on, and they still didn't. But they played together for many, many, many years. Now, if you're looking for a Ramones live DVD, I do recommend Ramones It's Alive 74 to 96, this bright pink grapefruit DVD box set. It's got 2 DVDs in it. That is good. I also own Ramones Raw. That's okay. It's mostly camcorder footage and touring stuff. And I do have the Johnny Ramone concert they did shortly before he passed. And that's just other bands mostly playing Ramones with CJ and Marky in it and another producer. It's Alive, that box set DVD is good. It includes the Rainbow concert. It also includes the German TV concert, which is really good. That's kind of, I think, early when Marky joined, and he looks exhausted trying to keep up with the Ramones. Interesting thing about that concert in Germany on that TV show, the audience just kind of has this shocked expression. A few people are moving, but kind of reminded me of that footage of Led Zeppelin in black and white on that TV show, I think in Denmark, that the audience is just kind of sitting like, huh? Pretty intense. I do have one other item I wanted to share with you today about the Ramones. Give me 1 second. Let me go get it. We're back. I got it. So about a year or two ago, I had a conversation with Jenny Lenz, who is a famous photographer. And I've always enjoyed her pictures of the Germs. So a few of them were sent to me. And this was my favorite one of Laura Doom from the Germs. And also here is Pat Smear from the Germs. Someone right now might be going, who are the Germs? Yet this is the one for the Ramones. So here is Jenny Lenz with Dee Dee Ramone and Johnny kind of in the background. And when I saw this, she said, you actually want a copy of this? And I go, yeah. And I think she was surprised because she's in the picture, I guess, and maybe a lot of people don't ask. And I thought it was great. As an artist, I like to have pictures of an artist too, not just what the artist does. It's nice to have a picture, I have a photograph in the other room of Andy Warhol. At work, I have one of Jean-Michel Basquiat. So to have a picture of Jenny Lenz is great. And here she is with Dee Dee, and like I said, and there's Johnny. And this is about 10 months before the Rainbow concert. This is pretty early in the world of the Ramones. So I look forward to getting that framed one day. Well, that was a long video today. Like I say, if you get a chance, I would give It's Alive a listen. It's quite intense. It's a good album. And, for me personally, in my guitar playing, there's a lot of Johnny Ramone in me, just like, that guitar tree, we all come from, there's different parts of it, even for singing, for me, it's like Otis Redding and other people. Johnny Ramone is a big part of that. So until next time, I hope everyone's safe and well, and, be nice to each other. Take care.